On today's episode, we have Brennan and Matt, who will be speaking to us about a special project that Matt has undertaken in Matt's school. So thank you both for being here today. And Brennan, I'll start with you because this is an initiative that came to your attention and you shared with me, and I was super excited. So please tell me a little bit about your role and how this came to you.
Thanks, Julie. So I'm on the WQTA executive representing elementary teachers in our region, and I sit on two committees at QPAT, the Human Rights and Social Justice Committee, as well as the New Teachers Committee. And we're always looking for projects that are happening in our schools that we can amplify and hopefully use to inspire other projects. And at one of our meetings, we were asked if we knew anybody in our region that was doing one of these inspiring projects. And I thought of Matt. So Matt actually taught me grade 9 science a
Amazing.
little while ago.
Yeah.
And so I followed him on social media for a bit. And I knew he was doing this garden project, but when I thought of him, I went back and I checked some of his videos and I realized that it was a much bigger project than I knew of. And so I thought he'd be perfect for this podcast because I think we want to know more.
Tell us about it because
Okay.
hey, it's
Yeah.
not just a garden project.
No. I have been doing some market gardening on the side for 15 years or so, and I just am compelled to do it. I make a little bit of money at it, and I just think it's a wonderful way to spend time and energy and maybe make money and feed your neighbors and build community and learn. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that is super positive, and I think it's one of those basic human things that everyone can relate to. So I've had so at the school, it started. I've been at a number of different schools. This is probably my third. Yeah, this is my third school garden project.
Okay.
That I've tried, and it always sort of becomes this: if you build it, they will come. Field of dreams type of thing. Because everyone's like, oh well, what's going to happen during the summer? Well, people show up. So this is very much a community supported and involved school project. So this is now going to be our fourth summer coming up, and we would have had what we called from the ground up gardening for a bunch of years. For 3 years. And as I said, like I do my own thing. So it was really easy just to sort of piggyback on, oh, I gotta, fertilize, or, oh, I gotta do this or that. And often I would leave a bunch of instructions with people that live nearby. And we literally stashed tools in the bush, and, that would be our tool shed.
Okay.
And they would come out and do whatever they needed to do. And often they would, they'd have a bucket of peppers or something just sitting there waiting, because they understand that it's about sort of feeding kids. So this has now become a bit of a bigger project called NOSH. And so NOSH is no student hungry. And the reason I got to play in the garden and all at school was because a colleague of mine, Susie Lehman, got a grant from I want to get the name right. It's like Farm to Canada. I'll send you the actual name.
Yes,
But
and I'll add it to the episode. Absolutely.
yeah, because they do some pretty phenomenal stuff. But it's Farm to Cafeteria Canada, something like that. And they were able to give us a whole bunch of money to feed kids, and a fair amount. Oh, there's Equiterre was the one that actually got us money to set up a garden. And then from that, we were able to just sort of, we've had personal donations, we've had Lions Club donations, we've had a fundraiser. So now we start to have like some actual money to really produce. And my goal with the gardening is to actually produce like a serious amount of food, following sort of industry standards for production, and we're trying to grow regeneratively. So show kids how to actually improve your soil as you grow, so that like you have this sort of like net gain in production year in, year out. And yeah, and these are like things that I have one kid. So I keep saying like, this is something you can do, because the whole idea is we can get kids into this, or people into this, with very little overhead.
Yeah.
And so I have one kid who's like jumping on it. Like he's already asking questions about how he can get his operation started in his neighborhood.
Wow.
Right. And so, yeah. So anyways, just the idea of how do we get started? It was a really generous grant and a really generous admin. So my admin are, well, Dodie Payne is a bit of a farmer on the side as well. And so she understands the simplicity and the joy and all whatever of growing food. And
shout out to your admin for being supportive in this. That's amazing.
100%.
Yeah.
I've had all of the different varieties through my rather long career now. And yeah, to have admin back you and you know, like things have not gone perfectly smooth, and she's in there, you know, helping us solve problems, and it's pretty great. It's pretty great. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do a follow-up question. So with the community, from what I can see, there are many aspects in this, the financial aspect from the different organizations in your community helping out, in the sense giving you money financially to help get this off the ground, and also the people. So I'm curious, like, I know you say it's the people around the school, but are they parents of students, or it's just people that have been curious about, okay, what's going on, and how did they get involved?
So it is an absolute cross section of society. Like we have one of my most involved people is this little old lady. I think she lives by herself, and she's right in there, and she keeps a list of all the people that she donates to. And this is sort of like the draw, right? So, oh, where'd you get this from? Oh, really? And then we get people showing up to weed, or showing up to whatever, because they would have just received a bunch of free lettuce or whatever it might have been.
Wow.
Right. And it's literally because like you can kind of see out the window here, like can you see? Anyways, there's like high rises, or like, you know, like high density housing. That is the end of our parking lot.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyways, as you go along, that our garden, the main part is on this fence line, and there's just more and more of those houses all the way along. And it's just packed with people that are walking through all the time. And like, there's really zero vandalism and a lot of pitching in. So it's been pretty neat.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, no, keep going.
Wow. I was just going to say, like, with my little side hustle, I would always have a whole bunch of stuff left over in addition to stuff we have. So that, like, I was like pumping it out. So this lady was going away with like a lot of food. Like I'd have to carry it to her house because it was too heavy, kind of thing. And then she would just make friends with veggies. So it was kind of fun.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Sorry, Brendan, you go.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, like, how did this come? So, I mean, I guess you talked about grants and stuff that like have built your project up, but I guess I'm wondering, like, how did you come up with the idea to do this at school? Like, how did you decide that, like, this personal, like, passion project, you think you wanted to bring it into school, and how did you convince students to join?
Yeah. So like like I said, I have a fundamental sort of belief, understanding that like we should be, as a species, involved somewhat in our food production and that kind of stuff. It just for me and for all the people I've seen involved, it just feels good, right? And so like one of those things. So, you know, your morning coffee is now, you know, strolling around your garden, picking weeds and whatever else. And it's great. Right. So how did it come about? Like I just kind of just did it. Like, I don't know. Like I just, like, so I'm definitely not inventing things. Like there's some really, really smart people. There's a gentleman named Jean-Martin Fortier from Quebec who has developed a very, very, you know, efficient model that I copy. There's a guy named Curtis Stone who developed an urban farming model, which I'm always going back to for kids. And what I'm trying to, I use their words to, you know, write grants, whatever else. And just the idea of we have all this land that is, other than being mown, like mowed. Anyways, it is unused, right? So why not take away a little bit of that expense and turn it into food and community and health and all that stuff, right? But yeah, so it's just one of those things where I just it's a little bit obsessive, but all I think about when I'm walking around and strolling around the city is like, oh, you could put an apple tree there, you could grow some herbs over here, whatever it is, right? And it's just I don't know, infectious for me.
And I'm sure there's a lot of trial and error. Like you say, now this is your third school. So
Mhm.
I'm sure every iteration you learn, right? And some things
Mhm.
work and some things you just make it better. And probably
Mhm.
every year, in a way, do you have to start over every year, or is it a bit of a continuation? Would
Well,
you?
that's the difference. So in the past, it's been like the conventional approach to school gardens has been the show and tell model. Like,
Mhm.
look at the seed and the plant, and then we got the tomato, and it's all growing. And okay, fine, but like, why reinvent? So there are people like I just mentioned there who have these really tight systems who are making better soil year in year out while they produce food and are able to produce a mega amount of food in a very efficient way. So yeah, so I can't remember what I was actually saying just then, but
So it's like it's an all year thing.
yeah,
It's an all year project. It's not
yeah,
ending. Like it's not a beginning and an end. It's just ever growing.
right. And so part of the reason I reached out to Brennan's school was that part of it is the kids need to know how to start. So
Yeah.
I've already started here. And the idea being I'm going to try and start a couple school gardens every year just to sort of have that flavor of like, yeah, there's grass and now it's growing veg,
Mhm.
and we don't really want to go and mow down a forest and do that. Like we're trying to take already underutilized, disturbed land that's not polluted. Obviously, we're not going to try and take an old dump site or something like that. But like, um, just it's as easy as and I'll tell Brennan later. But like, just like you put a piece of plastic down, come back a bunch of weeks later, and I'm actually we got money for a machine, so it'll go much faster. Our kids dug all of our beds, so we have all these like beautiful paths and whatever else, and they were hand dug, which is what I've done for 15 years, but I definitely knew there was a better way out there. And yeah, so one of the grants, we were able to get this thing called a walk behind tractor. So it's just a miniature tractor that I can throw in my trailer. And yeah, my plan is to have the kids come into the schools and set up a little workshop as I just like buzz up and down and make some nice beds. And by the end of the day, we will bring in some transplants. They will do some, starting their own seeds and all the different things, try and get it done in a day. Yeah.
Wow.
So you hinted at it, but essentially like you're expanding your project. Like it's not just staying at your school. You've started to reach out to elementary
Yeah,
schools.
100%. And I think that I think that the like I've been around kids long enough and the coaching and all the different like if you have an adult saying it, if you have this super cool teenager, wow, yeah, it's cool. You know what I mean? So and I honestly the kids here when I spoke to them were super pumped about it because I tried to sell it as like, the design project that I gave them was to go to their elementary school, try and figure out a suitable spot. And we have a certain, dimension that we like to play with. So, they're on the satellite image trying to figure out a good spot. Okay, sweet. And then they can actually figure out like the project was to figure out how much they can produce for a fundraiser dinner, and they have to make a recipe and grow to the recipe, right? And so they're just like, oh my God, I can make 897 burritos. Okay, maybe that's too much burritos, but it's just kind of a fun exercise to sort of see how much food and I said, subtract 20% because this is their first time. It's not going to go super well. So if they're predicting this, take 20% off and then go from there. And then you just have a little bit of wiggle room, right?
Tell us more about that fundraising aspect. So, what are some of the things that you've done for your school and for the community to fundraise using your garden?
Yeah, so fundraising for the garden itself has been literally to sell it to the calf. So like our calf is now run by Nosh. So Nosh is the like so the cafeteria version of what I'm talking about, like having kids grow the food and kids do like they have kids working in the kitchen instead of home ec. So depending on what time of day you're there, you're going to be doing, some kind of prep, some kind of cleanup, or some kind of service, whatever it is. And the idea is we're feeding kids for free. It's a pay what you can model. So some kids pay, some kids don't, and everything's way cheaper. So, we're selling, like today we had a full leg of chicken, potatoes, and a salad for $4. Right. So like that, like kids, and it's interesting. Like the lineup is like, we're going as fast as we can, but the lineup is pretty massive, and it's early too, right? They get in there, try and get first, so it's an interesting thing. And then the plan is to sort of have, cheaper food year in, year out, because we're going to be now producing it with the gardens.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So that must have been an evolution as well. So probably initially it wasn't part of the cafeteria, but like slowly you were able to build those ties and even get the buy-in from obviously like the other teachers and the other people on staff as well. Like,
Yep.
hey, this is not just my project. This is our school project. This is for
Yep.
all of us.
So I would credit my colleague Susie with that. So Susie, she's the one that runs the home ec and the CAF, and when she first, like, we both came back to the school. Like, I went to Ottawa for a decade or so, and I came back, and my first year back was her first year back. I think she taught here for a while. It doesn't matter. But she came in, she's like, I can't remember what she was all about. She's like, I want to, run a food program this way, and I want to, buy from local farmers. I'm like, I grow stuff. And so I started out by selling her my stuff. That was a great deal, because as a farmer, you're always like, at the end of the season, oh, what am I going to do with these 18 garbage bags of kale? Like, ugh. And then she was, of course, just like ripping through it. But her evolution was to basically have the same program, but just run out of the home ec room for a bunch of years. And there was still the CAF, and lovely man, the former CAF owner but he was in a situation where he needed to make money, and things happen where the decision to make fresh, like nutrient dense whatever is sometimes not an option, right? So he was not maybe providing the best food, and it was super expensive, and kids would just opt to go up to McDonald's or Subway instead, Yeah. So anyways, it's been great.
Like, how did you establish that relationship with the CAF though? Like, how did you transition from the former version to what's happening now?
Yeah, I would say full credit to the admin, right? So the admin saw a fabulous thing happening with Susie's nosh. So at this point, Susie was already just out of the home ec room, and it was like, again, pay what you can. If you can't pay, eat for free. If you can pay, there's like an email home like, hey, sign up for this. But like, it was definitely like not making as much money as it should have, let's say, because there's a lot of kids that, teenagers are lazy. Like they just, oh, I forgot my lunch, I'm gonna go over here. Even though this kid 100% could afford it, and his family is like not hurting at all, he's eating for free. Like there's a lot of that going on regularly. And now it's streamlined a little bit better, because we now have nosh cards, or pay, like, so you can put money on the card as a parent, or you can just tap like a regular debit card or whatever as well.
Okay.
I think what happened was the admin were basically looking like at the food that the kids had, like what their options were, and weren't super pleased, particularly when it's comparing to Susie's like freshly made, real ingredients, all the like she was like, she is a bit of a wizard with like, like I would come in with like a boatload of XYZ, like whatever it might be, eggplant. Like she made so much eggplant parmesan this year, because I always have too much eggplant. And kids actually loved it. Like it was like made in a way that it was like, oh, this is actually delicious. And she has these salads that she puts together that are top notch. It's pretty cool.
That's amazing. And so I'm going to include for sure the different resources that you spoke about the grants, the équiterre, Curtis Stone. There was another gentleman, Jean Martin. What was that individual's name?
Jean-Martin Fortier. Yeah, he's
Okay.
my like I sometimes refer to him as my gardening Jesus. But yeah, no, he's the man. So if you look him up, like, I mean, gardening, you don't get super popular in the world, but he's about as big as you get.
Okay.
And he's a Quebecer, so he developed some, and his whole thing was the difference between what he did and what all the other people were doing was, this is how you make money at it. So
Okay.
he was showing how people can make a living, and it wasn't just like, oh, save the planet, whatever, like all this stuff, because that's a big part of it too. But like he was like, no, like this is how you do it so that you are doing it efficiently, cost effectively, and you can make a living at it.
And you're showing this to the students, which is
Yeah.
so easy.
Yeah.
It's giving them another option, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'll include those, and remind me what if people want to see what you're doing, what's the handle for the school one, the school project?
Yeah, so the handle would be Nosh. We haven't got a website yet, although we have a pretty big visit happening next week, and I'd like to get a website by next week. But we have some senators and some senatorial staff coming through the school to see, because there's a huge increase in funding for school food programs, and
Yes, the whole government was involved, and etc.
yeah. So I think this sort of ticks a lot of the boxes in that it's incorporating learning with the food and the cost effectiveness and all that, right? So I think they're very intrigued. We had a couple of people, senators, pop in a while back, and I think this is a follow-up visit because I think they liked what they saw.
Nice.
So we'll see what happens. That's happening next Monday, I believe. Yeah, next Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give to somebody who says, I want to start, but I don't know where to start? What advice would you give to somebody who wants to take this on?
Who wants to take, like, are you talking about the school project on? Or
Yeah.
like this?
Except
Okay.
I'd like to start that in my school.
Yeah. Call me.
I hope so.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like I honestly, just like back to the sort of religion thing. Like I want to spread the gospel. Like
Yes.
it is pure goodness. Like you have, there's just so many levels of it feels good to do this. So yeah, but like how do you start? So if you want to start by just growing food, the easiest in would just to be sprouts. So we grow sprouts from, like, we have water, these trays, and that's about it. And seeds, of course. But like so if you want to just do that, anyone can do that in any bookshelf in a classroom, no problem.
Yeah.
And then to go just the next level of actually getting stuff in the ground, there's a good way and a bad way to do it. So I would say, give me a ring. But like, especially in a school context, just because it's a little bit trickier to get it going. It just always, like, generally speaking, admin are risk averse. They're not big into just like, sure, do whatever you want. We'll just we'll see what happens. So if they can see a project that's working and understand what they can potentially get out of it, in terms of like learning and school building, community building, and food production, they're probably more likely to be receiving it in a positive way.
And that's why we do this, like our Get Connected, what we do with these podcasts. It's because we have teachers all across the province who are doing amazing things. And sometimes people might have an inkling but don't know where to start. But if they have a resource like somebody like you, say, hey, or go to these sites, go check out this grant, like it just makes such a difference as opposed to having to do all the research on your own. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your time today and for everything you're doing for your school. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Hey, just one last thing. So I just sort of like, we have realized as we started developing this that we, like, what we have become is kind of that. Like we want to be into installing food programs, right? Because like just the idea of like, not that it was super easy, but it wasn't that tough. Like, it wasn't crazy. It's just to have, so, you know, we're starting to take notes and keep notes on curriculum, you know, all these different like ways that we can actually make it, you know, fit the phys ed curriculum or fit the home ec curriculum or whatever it is, right? So the idea being like, I want to make it, like I said, sort of part of what being a student is, you know, like, oh yeah, you're growing food because that's what you do. You know, like, anyway, that's my goal. That's my dream.
I love it. Thank you so much. And thank you, Brennan, for bringing this forward. This is amazing. And how fun is it that you were his teacher? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So crazy.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Just a while ago.
Just a while ago.
Thank you so much for sharing everything. And I think your mission is going to be accomplished. I think teachers are going to contact you, and I think they are going to be interested in this because it's such a cool project.
Thanks, man. That's awesome. Okay. Much appreciated, guys.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.
Okay.